Okay, we're gonna solve the quadratics by square roots, and this is my take 2 because it was really loud from the dryer. So we kind of already started. So the quadratic equation, it needs to be in the form of ax squared plus c equals 0. So there's no bx term here. We have 2 steps. You're going to isolate the x squared, and then you're going to take the square root of both sides. So one thing to remember is that square roots have 2 solutions. And then your inverse, remember your inverse of x squared is to take the square root. Okay, so that's why we're doing that. So this is an example. So we have x squared minus 49 equals 0. So in this case, we want it to be, we're going to isolate this x squared here. So I have to get rid of this 49. So I'm going to add 49 to both sides. Okay, so now I have x squared on the left equals 49 to the right. Again, to undo a squared term, you're going to take the square root. Okay, so now x is equal to plus or minus 7. Plus or minus 7. Okay, so then your x's, or your roots, are going to be x is equal to negative 7 and positive 7. Right? I'm going to do a few of these. I'm not going to do all of these because they're going to be a little bit repetitive on this one. But I will do as many as I think I need to. Alright, so number 1. We have x squared minus 16 equals 0, which is a lot like this example, so I'm not going to do that. So 1 and 2 are very similar to our example. I'll do number 3. X squared plus 25 equals 0. So I'm going to subtract 25 to both sides. And I'm left with x squared equals negative 25. Alright, so with a negative, so we would really take the square root right here. You can't take the square root of a negative number. So let's just put this up here. Can't take square root of negative number. So we're going to say that it's imaginary. It's imaginary. Okay, doesn't exist. Okay, so for right now, let's just say it's going to equal 0. Okay, so we're going to say that equals 0, but it's imaginary. So we're going to say that this is x equals 0, and it's imaginary. Okay, just so you know. All right, let's do number 4. X squared plus 7 equals 88. So I'm going to subtract 7 to both sides. So I'm left with x squared equals 88 minus 7 is 81. Take the square root. The square root of 81 is x is equal to plus or minus 9. So here, my x's are going to be negative 9, positive 9. Okay? Do number 5. So add 5. X squared is equal to 1. Take the square root. The square root of 1 is just going to be x is equal to plus minus 1. So your answers or solution are negative 1, x equals, and positive 1. Alright, number 6 is a little bit different. So now we have a coefficient here in front of our x squared. So we are going to 6x squared equals 54. We're going to divide by 6. So now I'm left with x squared equals, and 54 divided by 6 is 9. Take the square root. X is equal to plus minus 3. So your x's are going to be minus 3 plus 3. Oops. Okay. Number 7 is a lot like that. Let's do number 8. We have a fraction here, 3/4 x squared equals 48. We're not dividing really to divide a fraction, we're really multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply that one. Turn this one like this. Alright, so now I'm just going to multiply. This is gone. So x squared is equal to, so now I have 48 times 4/3. So 3 can go into 48. This is a 1. This is a 16. And 16 times 4 is going to be 64 over 1. So 64, take the square root. And x is equal to plus minus 8. Okay, so x is equal to -8, +8. Okie dokie. I think that's good for right there. Let's just do number 3. So this one we're going to add 108 to both sides. So I'm left with 3x squared equals positive 108. Divide by 3. And I'm left with x squared is equal to 108 divided by 3 is going to be 36. Take the square root of both sides, and now you're left with x is equal to plus minus 6. So your x's are -6 and +6. Alright, let's flip the page. Alright, so 7x squared is a lot of the same. Let me see, what one? Let's do number 13. So 9x squared minus 16 equals 0. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides. So I'm left with 9x squared equals 16. Divide both sides by 9. And so I'm left with x squared equals, this can't, it can't come out to a nice number, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the square root. So it's going to be 16 over 9, square root of both sides, square root of this side. So I'm left with x is equal to, the square root of 16 is going to be 4, and the square root of 9 is going to be 3, so 4/3. So remember, it's going to be plus minus, so -4/3 and +4/3. Let's do another one just like that. So number 14, subtract 10, 25, x squared equals 46 minus 10 is 36. Okay, now I'm dividing by 25. Okay, so then I'm going to x squared equals 36 over 25, and you're going to take plus or minus, and you're going to take the square root of them both. So then you're left with x is equal to, square root of 36 is 6, square root of 25 is 5. So -6/5, +6/5. Okay. Let me see. Let's do 15. Add 1 and 1. Oh, do I want to do that? No. I'm going to subtract x squared. Sorry. So minus x squared minus x squared. Sorry, I didn't see my problem there. So I have 5 minus 1 is going to be 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. Alright, now it's in the order. I'm going to get x squared all by itself. So I'm going to add 1. So I'm left with 4x squared equals 1. Divide by 4. So now I have x squared equals 1/4. So you're going to take the square root, and then you're left with x is equal to plus or minus 1 over 2. The square root of 1/4 is 1/2. Okay, so then your x's are going to be negative 1/2 and positive 1/2. So that right over. All right, let's get into the irrational solution. So zeros can be irrational. Solve the following quadratic equations. Write down answers in simplest radical form. All right, so if you remember how to simplify radicals, you're going to need that here. So we'll go over that in a second. 17, x squared minus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to add 3. And I'm left with x squared equals 3. Okay, I'm going to take the square root. And I'm left with now x is equal to the positive or negative, and this can't be reduced any. Okay, so I'm just going to be left with negative square root of 3 and the square root of 3. So positive, and negative. Okay. I don't know why I'm putting this here. This goes up here. There we go. All right, 18. Well, let's do 18 because this is when you're going to simplify the radical. We have x squared minus 8 plus or equals 0. So add 8. X squared equals 8. Take the square root. All right. So this is when you are going to simplify the radical. So I'm going to have my 8 over here. I'm going to prime factor it. So what times what is 8? And it's 2 times 4 right now. That's what I'm going to use. 2 is prime, so circle it. 4 can be broken down to 2 times 2. Both are prime. Remember, you're pulling out your doubles. And your doubles here happen to be a double 2. So double 2 stays out front. What's left is the square root of 2. Okay. So this is going to be x is equal to so negative 2 square root of 2, positive 2 square root of 2. So here you want, remember, positive and negative. Positive and negative. Let's do another one of those. Let's do number 19. Subtract 8 from both sides. X squared and 56 minus 8 is going to be 48. Okay, I'm taking the square root. So 48, one number times itself does not equal 48, so that's why we're going to prime factor it. Okay, so we have 48. That's my dog. So what times what is 48? So I'm going to do 6 times 8. Keep going until you get prime numbers. So 2 times 3, circle those. 8. 2 times 4. 2 times 2. Remember, you pull out the doubles. You're going to pull them out front. So you have a 2 and a 2 out front. So 2. And then this 2 times 2. And what's left is this 3. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4 times the square root of 3. So we have the negative and we have the positive. So 4 square root of 3. Okay. Let me see. 20 is exactly like 18 and 19. 21 is exactly the same. Let's do 22. Alright, so we have 8 minus 3x squared equals negative 22. So if you just want to rewrite that, you can do that, but ultimately you're trying to get this x squared all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 8 here. Okay, and I'm left with negative 3x squared equals negative 30. Divide by a negative 3. So I'm left with x squared equals negative 30 divided by negative 3 is positive 10. Take the square root. So if you did the prime factorization of 10, it's 2 times 5. And that's it. Okay, so 2 times 5, it can't be reduced any further than that, so it just stays the square root of 10. Okay, so this is just going to be x is equal to the negative square root of 10 and the positive square root of 10. And that's it. Let's do 23. So I'm going to add 10. Negative x squared equals 18 plus 10 is 28. And I'm going to divide by negative 1. X squared equals negative 28. So what happens there? Because I'm going to take the square root. So it's a square root of negative 28. And if you remember, we can't have that. And so we just said it's going to be equal to 0. Okay, it doesn't exist. It's imaginary. Okay, we haven't learned about imaginary numbers, but that's what it is. And that's pretty good for right now. Okay, so you guys, so we did irrational solutions, and we did just regular square roots, and you guys should be good to go on this homework. Remember, if you have any questions, ask me on Thursday.